I'm the Reverend Douglas. This is RadioFreeKeyWest.com. I'm here with author Michael Haskins, who has graciously conceded to join me today. And the name of the book is Chasing the Wind, and it is a Mad McMurphy mystery. And Mad McMurphy is a guy that kind of got lost on a sailboat. He kind of dropped out of the world. Tell me about Mad McMurphy.
He's an experienced journalist who drops out after a bad incident in Mexico and sails around the Caribbean and ends up...
When you mean bad incident in Mexico, you don't mean like heartburn. You mean
no,
like
I mean,
a bad incident.
Well, he ended up responsible for killing the love of his life.
He was responsible.
He was responsible.
Okay.
So he got a drug dealer, but she was there.
And
that's when he just basically went insane, and his Black Ops friend helped get him out of Mexico. And he lived in California. They bought a boat and he sailed. He didn't want anything to do with it.
Really?
So he ended up in Key West. And in the book, or actually in my 3 books, the second one comes out in February. It's basically drug-related incidences that he gets involved in and solves the mystery of.
Well, I'll ask this question because you opened yourself up to it. Anything autobiographical in this?
Only I have some recurring characters because this is a series, or it's will be a series when February happens. And for McMurphy, so I wouldn't have to think about him. I gave him all my faults, which are 2: cigars and Jameson whiskey. And 3, I guess, collect beer too. But a lot of there's recurring characters in it, and a lot of them are pieces of different people.
Okay.
One person might have. I have a friend. I have a couple of friends in the book that a couple of people in the book who are kind of like my friends, and they drink and they have cigars.
Okay.
So that I got from them. But they also may be a retired Navy SEAL, which were the people that I hang out with aren't, but I know a couple of ex-Navy SEALs. So it's a little. So
there's a little bit of truth in every little facet.
You know, being a writer, you learn to appreciate God. Okay. You know, because you figure, all right, I created these characters; they're going to do what I want. And you start writing it, and things happen, and then you go back and you rewrite it, and you say, you know, he wouldn't say that. And now you got to go back and fix it. I wanted him to say that, but he didn't say that, but because it's not his character. They develop their own character. And in this book, I needed a bad guy. I mean, a real bad guy. But you had to like him, but you couldn't know he was the bad guy. And when the time came for him to be the bad guy, I said, I can't do that. He's a nice guy. And I tried to find an alternative ending, and I said, you know, boy, I can't do that. He has to be the bad guy, and it's happened in actually all 3 of the books I've written. Halfway through, I figured, okay, this is going to happen. Now I got it all worked out. But when I get to the end, it has a life of its own, and then you got to go back now and make corrections from the beginning of the book.
Yeah, make sure everything fits. That makes sense. And there's a new Mad McMurphy book coming out in February?
Yeah, and marketing has changed it to McMurphy Key West Mystery. Because Key West sells. Mad McMurphy is only known to a few close family friends. But it comes out in February, and again it has to do with drugs and a corrupt city commissioner.
I can't imagine that in Key West. That doesn't exist. Now I know that's the fictional part of the book.
That's the fictional part.
Okay, I suspected that. When McMurphy gets to Key West, does he just bum around? Does he have enough money where he can just lay on his sailboat, or does he get a job? And does he?
No, he'll work periodically for news magazines.
Oh, okay. So a journalist. So that's part of the character that you took from you.
Yeah, he doesn't. They come to him and say, "Hey, something's happening in Cuba. You know, we need to go there."
Right.
Or something. You know, like the oil spill. They would say, "Can you cover that if it comes down there for him?" But he isn't going to them with story ideas.
They're coming to him.
Yes, he'd rather be
So
sailing.
his reputation precedes
Yeah,
it. Okay.
his reputation from the Central American Civil Wars.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and that's all kind of explained on.
Which ones?
Well, well, there's a priest in there that a Jesuit who sees and talks to angels, and he was a missionary in Guatemala. He's an Irish priest, so he's kind of influential. But Murphy covered probably El Salvador, Nicaragua, and the drug wars in Mexico.
Okay, wow, that's intense. So, tell me how this unfolds. How does this book unfold? How does he get involved in the conundrum?
It opens up with him finding a friend half beaten to death, and who eventually dies. And through osmosis and the bar scene and hanging around, they have a bartender friend who said, I had some people came in that night and told me this story, and they relate that story to the beating that killed this man. And it turns out that they're Cubans. And when he brings it to the police and says, bring us, and police come back later and say, the federal government said you can't touch these guys. The story idea originated from, and I'm sure you're aware of it, is Whitey Bulger.
Oh, I'm very familiar with Whitey Bulger.
I read the story the Boston Globe reporters wrote, The Black Mass.
Yeah.
And I mean, I read better than some crime fiction. And I thought, well, how could you put that down here? And I didn't live up to Whitey's reputation. I didn't kill as many people or things, but instead of being an Irish gangster, I made them Cuban army deserters. And actually, the book literally ends with a battle on the beaches in Cuba.
Wow.
So
interesting. Very interesting. How old a man is Mad McMurphy when all this?
I would say early 40s.
Early 40s.
Yeah.
So he's not a kid.
No.
So he's very streetwise and very very used to this. Does he take drugs?
No, he drinks.
I'm going to guess Jameson.
He drinks Jameson and Click, yeah. That's why I don't remember what everybody else drinks, but
everybody does. Everybody does.
Well, I keep the little index cards for my returning characters, because
so readers that you know their idiosyncrasies.
Well, readers are great to say, how come McMurphy had green eyes and red hair in the first book, and he's got sandy blonde hair and brown eyes in the second? So you.
Right, okay.
Obviously
you have to keep your descriptions and everything. How many times, before you submitted this to the publisher, how many times did you rewrite this book?
Oh, twice. The first, or the last time, the second time, was when Tom Corcoran, who's a Key West writer, I asked to see the manuscript, and I gave it to him, and he called me one day and said, come on up to the house, I have some suggestions for you. And it was probably 3 pages, but it seemed like it was half the book. He sat down, we're sitting, and I was on a couch, and he was in a chair across from me. He said, no good. No, he kept throwing pages on the floor, and he said, this is where you start. And it turned out it was page 4.
Okay.
And so I listened to him. I went back and I rewrote the opening, cut out that stuff, and started the opening at the Key West Sail Club where they find the friend beaten badly. And I always tell Tom it must have worked, because I sent it to 5 Star and they got back to me in probably 2 weeks, which surprised the hell out of me.
I bet you did.
It usually takes longer.
Awesome.
But the next one you'll like, it comes out February 11th next year.
What's the name of it?
It's Free Range Institution, a Scott Kirby song. And it's on my website, which is michaelhaskins.net.
I love it. Michael, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Stopping and talking about Chasing the Wind. Michael Haskins. I'm the Reverend Douglas. This is RadioFreeKeyWest.com. Thank you.